The next section, typically this is where we would do the Ask a Master Gardener question, but as you noticed, there wasn't one in the newsletter this week. But we're doing something that is in line with that activity. And it's also in line with your reading assignment for next week. We are going to be working on vertebrate pests next week, and there's not a vertebrate pest section in the Master Gardener Handbook. So what we're going to be doing is utilizing our pest notes as the reading information, the resource for that. And as you all know by this point, that when we're working with folks on the hotline and we're giving them information and referring them to additional information they can look up, one of the go-to places for us is what? The pest note, exactly. Now, it was brought to my attention that some people may not know where pest notes are or how they can access pest notes. So what I thought I would do is put together a real quick, down and dirty PowerPoint presentation that Mo will put on our website. That'll take you actually through the steps of different ways in which you can access pest notes. But I thought we would go ahead and do it here just so everybody can see it really quickly. What I'm going to do is go very quickly through the PowerPoint presentation, and then Byron has hooked it up so that I can actually go online and we'll actually go through to the UC IPM website and actually do it live. So accessing a pest note. A couple ways in which we can do it. The one way, because I started out with the UC IPM program, that's the way that I use as my primary, and so unfortunately that's what you guys are going to get taught as well. But we can access it directly through the UC IPM website. We can access it through through the San Diego County Master Gardener website. We can access it through, believe it or not, the Volunteer Management System, the VMS. We can also access pest notes through Roland and Aaron at the front desk. They have hard copies of each and every one of them. And then we also have it at the MG Hotline office, both hard copy and the electronic version. But I'm thinking that you guys probably want to do the electronic version most often, right? That's what I thought. So, if we were going to go through the UC IPM website, this is the home page, and what you would do is you would click on the Home Garden Turpin Landscape. When you click on that section, it takes you to that main page, and over here under Quick Links, you see where it says Pest Note Library. If you click on that, it takes you to a listing of all the pest notes that are included in the UC, that have been developed by the UC IPM program. So you would just go down to the pest note that you wanted. You would click on the PDF section, and in doing so, well, because we're doing vertebrate pests, I went down. We're going to look at pocket gophers, not to be confused with gophers. They're pocket gophers. It's the same thing. It'll bring you to the electronic or to the web page for the pocket gophers. The actual pest note, which is the same information, but if you get it, just so that there's not a confusion, if you look up here where the red arrow is, there's a little download PDF. When you click on that, that takes you to a printable version of that hard copy of the pest note. You can do this for any one of the activities. So that's how you would access it through the UC IPM website. Now, if you were going to go through the VMS system, and does this look familiar except for my name being on the top of it? You all have been to the VMS, right? Okay, once again, made it really easy for folks. Over here, under the links section, it says UC IPM Master Gardener Resources. If you clicked on that, it's going to take you to, this is a page, and this is how the typical Master Gardeners get to this site, but like I said, because I came out of the UC IPM program, this is the web page that's been developed for Master Gardeners, and right here, once again, a listing for pest notes, list all the pest notes, and then it's the same thing as we've done before. If you click on that where it says pest notes, it's you click on that, it's going to take you to the area where we were at before. Okay? The third area is from our own Master Gardener website. This all look familiar to everybody? Okay, so on this section, what you would do is up here in the header, there's a little section that says resources, and if you click on that, it brings up this list of resources that have been developed by the San Diego County program, and right here in the first column is Pest Notes. Right there. So if you click on that, it takes you to a database that we've created that lists all of the UC IPM Pest Notes that, once again, you can click on the PDF or the HTML, and it'll take you to whichever, the appropriate document. Okay? Does that make sense? You guys...
Why do we have redundancy of efforts there? Why didn't we just leave from San Diego Master Gardener to the
Well,
from somewhere else? Why do we
Princess's question is why is there the redundancy in there? And what I'm doing is I'm sharing with you the ways in which you can do that. However, to address that question, the way that I talked about it the UC IPM website, is how the public would go into it. That's typically how the public is going to access UC IPM information. The second way in which I showed you is how the statewide Master Gardener program has created it for all of the Master Gardeners. So not just San Diego County, but everywhere, across the state. The third area is what was created here in San Diego. It narrows it down to us. So depending on what you become most accustomed to or familiar with or comfortable with, that's the way in which you'll access the information. Most important thing, that the end result is it gets you to that pest note. DJ.
Well, two questions. One, when we did the phone, there was a lot of signage, and the gals that I was with were still using the UC Davis. Is that going by? Is it always going to be UCANR?
Okay. DJ's question is with regards to the URL addresses for the Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources and UC Davis. And in the past, our addresses have been blah-blah-blah.ucdavis.edu. With the branding effort that's been put out from the administration and the Vice President of Ag and Natural Resources, is that they want our own identity of UCANR. So they added that URL that now instead of the UC Davis, you go to UCANR or UCANR, it's UCANR. But both of those addresses are still active. They will always be active and they'll always work. The reason that's being promoted is because they're looking at promoting the Department of Ag and Natural Resources. And can anybody fathom as to why they're doing that?
Money.
Exactly, money. They want recognition for our division, and so they don't want to use the UC Davis tag, they want to use the UCANR tag. That's the reason it was done. Question 2.
The second question had to do with finding this when you have minimal knowledge. That's all. This is going to sound familiar to you. If someone were to say, what is that? And that's all they had was a photograph or the pest itself. What's the quickest way? Mine, by the way, is bookmarked at this point. But what's the quickest way to get to the photography part of the?
Well,
how do I do it if that's all I know?
If you are giving the public information, the question is, what's the quickest way to get to that? Obvious answer to me is, come into my office and I'll take you there real fast. But if you're talking to the public, the quickest way to let them know about how to get to, basically the site that we're going to is the UC IPM site, is that UC IPM office has been very thorough in the way in which they've developed their IPM site, that if you put IPM and anything, they're typically one of the first 2 or 3 sites, or UC IPM, they're typically one of the first sites, and that'll get you to their home page.
But from there, how do I get to, and if I don't know the name of the pest, how do I get to see it first?
The quickest way to get to it would be, well, let's go to it. Am I going to be able to do this, Byron?
I think so. It's quick.
Okay. The quickest way to do this is to let the public know in which, if the public is wanting to get do research on their own, or if you're wanting to do research on your own, is that go to the Home, Garden, Turf, and Landscape Pets.
Right.
If you click that, and you're going to have to read, and it may take you a step or two, but that, and then follow that process through, looking at the type, is it a household pest? Is it on flowers? Is it
Not
on...
that. There's no way to go straight to pictures.
Not if you don't know what it is. No, if you don't know what the insect is, there's no way in which you could go to it, because is it an aphid? Is it a lady beetle? Is it a snail?
But like they do with flowers. You know how you can find a flower even if you don't know it. Family,
Yeah,
you can still do color, you can do season.
I-
There's other ways of doing it.
Unfortunately, the site is not constructed in that manner
Gotcha.
at this point. So, okay.
Thank you.
That would show those cards.
The little card that's
Oh, the point that's being brought up is the identification cards that you've been given. But once again, that's going to be a hunt and search. It's not going to take you directly to something.
and then nobody could identify her. So
Now, the next question I have for you,
bring them like entomologist.
back here, pay attention to me. You're never going to let Judy go away, did right? Does everybody feel comfortable either being able to access a pest note or being able to find the PowerPoint that will walk you through the steps to access a pest note?
Yes.
Is there anyone that doesn't feel comfortable with that? So each and every one of you is going to be able to go through and do the half a dozen or so vertebrate pest notes on deer mice and ground squirrels and pocket gophers and have all that reading done before next week.
It's a lot of reading.
It's a lot of good reading though. It's really interesting stuff. Okay? Any other questions for me? I think we can arrange for that. Okay. Well, with that being said, I want to thank you once again for your energy and your enthusiasm with today's activity. And I'll turn it back over to Cindy and Fausto.